We certainly want to protect our eyes from injury by wearing goggles or safety glasses in the laboratory, but that's not all we need to be concerned about. We not only want to protect our eyes from contact with chemicals, but also our skin. Therefore, proper dress in the laboratory is essential. No shorts or short skirts allowed, and shoes must completely cover the foot. My lab doubled as a science classroom, so I always let my students know the day before that we were going to be doing a lab so they would be prepared. And I put a sign outside my classroom door so they could get their gym shoes, and they had time to do that just in case they forgot and wore sandals that day. Long hair should be tied back whenever there's going to be flames in the laboratory, and dangling jewelry should be removed before the laboratory experiment begins. And even watches with absorbent bands should not be worn whenever chemicals are used in the lab. If students resist complying with some of these rules, just explain to them it's for their safety. Now, a football player wouldn't go out on the football field during a game without the proper personal protective equipment. So why should a student do a laboratory experiment without the proper personal protective equipment either? Lab aprons should always be used along with goggles whenever chemicals are used in the laboratory. A lab apron offers a chemical-resistant barrier to any splashes or spills. And to help you make the right choice of which lab apron to use in your laboratory, we will send you a free sample for you to examine. Just call or email us with your request. For teachers, a lab coat is recommended whenever doing a demonstration or a laboratory activity or when preparing solutions. And students love to see their teachers in our tie-dye rainbow lab coats. Or you can tie-dye your own with your school colors. Now let's talk about gloves. There are a lot of different gloves for many different purposes. If you're going to be handling dry ice, gloves like these will help protect you against those extreme cold temperatures. If you're going to be handling hot glassware, you could use tongs, but gloves like these or these will not only protect your hands against the hot glassware, but also against the hot liquid in case there's a spill or a splash. And there are gloves available for handling rough or sharp material, such as broken glass. Chemical-resistant gloves should be worn whenever chemicals are used in the laboratory, no matter how minimal the risk of exposure. Even relatively low hazardous chemicals can be skin irritants, and some students' skin is more sensitive than others. Our skin is a great barrier against many things, but we may have minor cuts or abrasions that we're not even aware of. Chemical-resistant gloves are important to wear. And another thing is that they're less likely to rub their eyes or bring their hand to their mouth or their nose when they're wearing these gloves during a laboratory experiment. Irene Sessa, our senior chemist, is now going to talk about what to consider when selecting chemical-resistant gloves. Irene?
If you have ever purchased gloves as a gift for an individual, you probably learned that one size does not fit all. In terms of the chemical resistance of gloves, we could paraphrase that as one type of glove will not protect against every type of chemical that you might encounter in the laboratory. So in reviewing chemical resistance, it is helpful to remember the basic premise of the laboratory standard for ensuring chemical lab safety. The lab standard offers a performance-based model for chemical safety. It does not offer a prescribed set of rules and regulations. What that means is that we must gauge the necessary personal protective equipment that is needed based on a review of the specific hazards for every chemical and/or procedure that we're going to do in the lab. We can't just reflexively say, always wear gloves. OSHA requires a specific hazard assessment that encompasses not only the nature of the chemical, but also the duration of exposure to the chemical and the flexibility that will be needed to perform tasks. Chemical resistance of gloves is generally measured in terms of three parameters. One, degradation, breakthrough time, and the permeation rate. If hazard assessment suggests the possibility of exposure over a large area to hazardous chemicals, you will want to consult a chemical compatibility chart for those specific chemicals. Many manufacturers, safety providers, government agencies publish chemical resistance charts for hundreds of specific chemicals. On our website, we will offer you a PDF with a general chemical resistance chart for most types of common laboratory chemicals in the high school laboratory. Now, for dilute aqueous solutions of mild irritants, such as inorganic salt solutions, disposable latex gloves offer a simple solution. Many schools, however, have outlawed the use of latex because of the sensitivity and allergies of some individuals to their use. In that case, I think the most convenient general purpose disposable gloves that you can find for general chemical resistance are nitrile, disposable nitrile gloves. These are excellent. They fit very well, and they offer very good chemical resistance against acids and bases, halogens, and also many organic solvents, such as, for instance, most hydrocarbons, ethers, and alcohols. However, they may not offer good chemical resistance against ketones, such as acetone, which is a common laboratory solvent, and against chlorinated solvents. Now, for more heavy-duty applications, such as, for instance, if you're going to be working with concentrated acids or bases, preparing the solutions for the students to use, then you will want to use a regular-duty, non-disposable glove. And the two top choices are nitrile rubber gloves and neoprene. Both of these offer excellent chemical resistance against a wide variety of organic solvents, with basically two exceptions. And those exceptions are if you're going to have more than incidental contact with a ketone, even acetone, if you're going to be routinely sticking your hands in a bucket of acetone, I don't recommend that, but I need you to think about that, then you're really going to need specialty gloves beyond either nitrile or neoprene. Okay, and those would be butyl rubber gloves for use with some ketones, and for chlorinated solvents, you would need a specialty glove such as Viton, which is a fluoropolymer.
Thank you, Irene. And now, let's not forget our ears. Some combustion demonstrations can be quite loud. I'm thinking of the hydrogen and oxygen-filled balloons. And teachers are the closest to the source of the noise and should be wearing ear protectors like these. And please teach your students how to cup their ears to deflect the noise like this and not plug their ears like this. As a responsible science teacher, you must insist that proper personal protective equipment and lab attire be worn whenever necessary. And don't forget to be a good role model yourself. It's for your safety too.